Right, hello everyone. I hope you're having a lovely day. So today I'm going to talk about a book by Arthur C. Clarke called Childhood's End. This book was published way back in 1953. It's considered to be a science fiction classic. There will be spoilers, of course, throughout this entire video. Or it's not really a video, is it? It's just it's my book reviews. This is what I do with my channel now. I read books and I talk about books. There will be spoilers in the review, so go and read the book if you haven't read it. I do recommend it. It's quite enjoyable. It's quite short, quite easy to read. 240 pages, 40 something pages. Yeah, fun little read, a classic. Not very deeply emotional. Arthur C. Clarke was he's more interested in the science and more interested in the ideas than in characters and emotions and things like that. But nonetheless, a fun little read. So go and read it. But essentially, it is a book about mankind's first contact with the aliens. There are many science fiction books of a similar manner that have been written on this subject matter. It is considered to be a subgenre in and of itself within science fiction. So it's a first contact book, and it concerns, essentially in a nutshell, it concerns the apotheosis of mankind, transcending upwards and merging with the Godhead, or the Overmind as it's called in the book. And essentially what happens is, I mean, it's a nice little story. It captivated me for the first, 50 pages or whatever, because the story begins, it's set in the 50s, and, the Cold War's going on. You've got the Soviet Union, and you've got the Americans, they're both trying to race to get into space, but then the aliens appear, and there are alien ships, and they're all over every major city in the world, these giant alien ships, and they make contact with humanity. They show some of their powers, but they don't show their faces. Nobody knows what they look like. But nonetheless, they in a very kind of non-interventionist way, they kind of begin to dominate human affairs. They don't create any new political organizations. They just start talking to the United Nations and work through that. They don't get too involved in Earth's political affairs, but they give humanity some technology, they bring about world peace, and they kind of shove humanity in a certain direction. But humans, of course, are very suspicious, because the overlords, as they call them, first of all, they can't see what they look like. All they get is a voice. There's only one man that gets to see them, and that he's like the main character of the book for the first, as I say, like 20, 30, 40 pages of the book. And he's the head of the United Nations. He's the only guy that gets to meet the overlords, and he doesn't even meet them. He gets in a space capsule, goes up into space, and talks essentially to a mirror, right? So nobody knows what the overlords look like, and nobody knows what their real intentions are, or where they came from, or what their plan is, or anything of this nature. They're very, very aloof, but they're also very peaceful and very friendly, and they bring about world peace, and they give humanity lots of technology. So humanity is just kind of going along with it, right? But there are suspicions. And so as a reader, you're reading it, you think, well, what do the aliens look like, and what do they want, right? So it's good at sparking this curiosity within you. So you think, what does it look like? What's going on? And then in the end, I suppose the main character, he takes a little sort of torch flashlight thing up into space, and he shines it in the mirror, and he gets like a little glimpse of the overlord, and he's got wings on his back, and it's like, what's all that about? And then the novel jumps 50 years into the future, because the overlords have made a promise that they will reveal themselves in 50 years, but humanity won't be ready until that time. And in protest, the humans say, look, if you've got, if you're ugly, if you've got tentacles and stuff, we'll get over it. But the overlords are like, nah, you're not going to get over it. So we have this is how the book begins. And then it jumps into the future, and the overlords reveal themselves, and they look like demons, essentially, with horns and wings on their back, and hooves, and they're red, and they just look like Satan, basically. And humanity's like, whoa, dude. I mean, it is actually very interesting. I've got to be pretty sure Arthur C. Clarke was some kind of Freemason. Because when the overlords come out of the spaceship, he asks 2 children to accompany him. So he walks out of the spaceship. The overlord's like 8 feet tall. This 8 feet tall demon creature. And he's holding 2 children in each hand, which is exactly what the Baphomet does. And obviously the Baphomet is the god that the Freemasons worship, right? And he's the hermaphrodite, transsexual, half man, half beast, goat-headed demon god of the Freemasons, and he's usually depicted with 2 children worshipping him. So is that where is that where Arthur C. Clarke got it from? Well, I mean, you can only wonder. I mean, I suppose so, right? But anyway, they come out, and then you see, oh, okay, it's the demons, but they still don't really. You get to see them now, but people still don't know who they are, where they're from. But everybody's happy because humanity now is essentially a utopia, and everyone can travel around the entire world in these little car spaceships. There's no war. There's no disease. There's high technology. Everybody has everything that they want. Everybody is living a life of complete luxury and entertainment while the robots and the machines do everything for them. So the overlords were right, in a way, to wait for 50 years to reveal themselves. If they'd have done it straight away, people would have gone, oh my God, they're demons, and they would have been terrified, and there would have been a lot of problems. But they waited. They gave humanity all this technology. Now humanity's living in a utopia, and then they see the demon, and it's like, okay, whatever. Religion has essentially died at this point, and the people that live on the planet Earth have grown up, because it's 50 years in the future. So almost everybody that's alive has grown up living with the presence of the overlords in the background. So people just accept it. But you still don't know what's going on in the book. What's going on? What's going on? What are their plans? They're not telling humanity. They won't tell humanity where they're from, and etc., etc. And people are still rather like a little bit suspicious. And if you're reading the book, you're like, what is going on? Like, what's going on with these overlords? And then what happens is the overlords are very, very old, very ancient. They have a perfect memory, highly intelligent, and they understand all different aspects of human civilization. And one of them has a curiosity in the occult, and there's one guy, and he's collected a huge library of humans, like occult books and stuff. So this demon overlord creature, he's in the library reading all these books, and this guy, he throws a party because he kind of wants to show off the fact that he's got an overlord in his house reading his library of occult books. So he has a party, people turn up, they meet the overlord, they're talking to him, and then the guy says, let's do some magic, and he pulls out a Ouija board, and they're playing around with the Ouija board, and then one guy asks the question. He says, where is the overlord's planet? And the Ouija board moves around, and he gives a number, and that number is the reference number of the overlord's planet. Nobody knew this before, and so this guy gets freaked out by this. He gets the number, he has to do some research, find out, oh my God, that's probably, because they know basically what star system the overlords are from. So he takes the number, goes to some institute somewhere, types it in, has a look, finds out that number is the number of a star within that cluster of stars in the sky. And he thinks to himself, well, that must be the overlord's planet. How has the Ouija board revealed this to me? Right? And you've got to understand, in Arthur C. Clarke's Utopia, nobody believes in magic anymore. Okay, the magic is gone. And people don't believe in occult nonsense anymore. So this guy goes on a trip. It's like, oh my God, what's going on? So he decides that he wants to go to the overlord's planet. right? He decides that he's had enough of this, and he wants to find out what's going on. So the overlords have been capturing. This is interesting because Arthur C. Clarke, actually, the author of the book, he moved to Sri Lanka. He died in Sri Lanka, actually, and he was very interested in scuba diving. So there's a bit of scuba diving in this book, or at least some submarine stuff in this book. But they're very interested in kind of reminds me of James Cameron. James Cameron is also interested in the bottom of the ocean. Maybe it's just like a science fiction thing. People that are interested in the stars, they also want to go to the bottom of the ocean. It's the other great unexplored area, isn't it? But anyway, the overlords are taking whales from the planet, and they're basically freezing them and then taking them back to their home planet, just to put in a giant museum, right? So this guy figures out a way to hide inside one of these whales, and he makes it back to the overlord's world, and he sees their world and their cities and what have you, and it's all, you know, incredible and weird, and they just put him on a starship and send him straight back to Earth, but he doesn't get back until, like, I don't know, it takes like 50 years to go there and 50 years to come back or whatever. But what happens in the meantime on planet Earth is that another of the two couples that were actually at that meeting with the Ouija board, they go on and they join some community on an island somewhere in the Pacific, where they're trying to create art again. Because what's inside in Arthur C. Clarke's idea of the utopia, he thinks that creativity will end. He thinks that in this utopian world, no one will have the mood or the spirit to make music or create theatre or create anything. Everything just becomes a bit bland and boring. I mean, I don't think that's what would happen in a utopia, but maybe there's some truth in it. Look how much art has come out of Italy and how much has come out of Switzerland, right? That's the old joke, isn't it? It's from that movie, The Third Man. There's a whole, I think Orson Welles is starring in the movie, but there's a famous speech that he gives when he talks about the difference between these two civilizations. Like, Italy has obviously been famously corrupt for so many years, so much killing, so much blood shed, so much betrayal, so much infighting, like an ongoing civil war between various different city-states, and yet they created such wondrous art. Switzerland, on the other hand, has been peaceful for centuries, and all it's given us is the cuckoo clock, right? So maybe Arthur C. Clarke's got a point in that. I don't know. But nonetheless, creativity has dried up in this utopia. So a bunch of people go and live on an island, and they're trying to create art on this island, right? It's like an artistic community, right? And they have a child, and there's a tsunami. So the sea goes out all the way out into the ocean. The boy walks out into the ocean, and he hears a voice which tells him to run up the hill, so he does. Essentially, a voice rescues him, a voice from the sky. And the parents figure out that actually, like, the overlords are watching this child, but they can't figure out why. And eventually they go and ask the overlords. And what occurs is that at this point, essentially, the whole plot is revealed, right? What's going on. You finally find out what's going on. And what is going on is that the overlords themselves are not actually in control of planet. They're not trying to conquer planet Earth or anything like this. The overlords themselves work for something that is higher than them, something which they call the overmind. And the overmind is essentially God, or something like God. It's a vast, interdimensional, interplanetary intelligence. And the overlords work for them, and they basically go to different planets and civilizations around the universe, around the galaxy, and they kind of help them take birth, help raise them up, help them reach a stage where they can psychically kind of leap forwards and merge with the Godhead. So it's very Kabbalistic or Gnostic, whichever way you want to look at it, right? Back to Godhead. Back to Godhead was the magazine of the Hare Krishna movement, interestingly enough, of ISKCON. The ISKCON branch of the Hare Krishna movement. They had a magazine called Back to Godhead. Very, very Kabbalistic interpretation of the Veda. Okay, it's not Vedic at all. In the Veda, you don't really want to go back to God. I mean, you could look at it that way, but it's not really how it works. But anyway, basically, it's the apotheosis. You go up to heaven, you rise, okay? And this is what is happening to humanity. And the overlords are just there to stop humans from killing themselves. Of course, this book's written in 1953, so we're in the Cold War, and you've got the great fear of nuclear war, right? Everybody seems to have forgotten about nuclear weapons now, okay? I'm of the opinion that nuclear weapons aren't real, by the way. I think they firebombed Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And I think they just scared everybody with the threat of nuclear weapons to empower the United Nations and to empower, to drive forward essentially Wilsonian idealism. What is Wilsonian idealism? Well, we live in the age of Wilsonian idealism, and this is the political idea which comes from Woodrow Wilson, the President of America during the First World War. And essentially, as far as I understand it, this idea goes all the way back to Immanuel Kant. Probably there are people before him that stated this idea, but Immanuel Kant was one of the big ones who stated it after the French Revolution. And the idea is simply that we want world peace through democracy. We want one world republic, or a multiplicity of republics working together in peace. And that's Immanuel Kant's dream, and that got transformed into Wilsonian idealism. And I guess nowadays people say it's neocons, right? Oh, we're going to drop bombs on you until you start voting. But really it starts with Woodrow Wilson. But nonetheless, the point I'm making is one aspect of this is the United Nations. This is one link in this chain of this global government, and nuclear weapons were used to scare people in order to follow the global government. We must have global government, otherwise we're all going to kill each other. Very strong theme in science fiction in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and in the 90s. People just kind of forgot about it after the Cold War. That's why I don't think nuclear weapons are real. It's just a scare. It's kind of like now they're scaring us with global warming. Different scare, slightly different objective. It's just kind of nonsense. But anyway, yeah, the point being, the overlords, they stepped in to stop humanity from killing itself and to raise us up, to allow us to give birth. And this is what happens. The children, as I mentioned, this family living on the island, they have a son, they have a daughter, they both develop these psychic abilities. And they kind of they get detached, and they don't really see their parents anymore. And it's described how the daughter, she's only a little baby, she doesn't eat, but food will disappear from the kitchen or something like that. Somehow she's eating it psychically or something like this. And she's the first one. Or those two children are the first two children, and then it spreads, and then all the children get it, and then an entire generation of children are just like this. They're all psychically awake, and they don't really communicate with their parents. They don't behave like ordinary children, and that's it. I mean, humanity's dead, or humanity is not dead. Humanity has transformed. And there's a lot of parents who are upset about this, and a lot of people commit suicide, a lot of people try to kill their children, blah, 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 blah. But essentially, that's it. And then the guy that went to the Overlord's planet, he comes back, and oh my God, humanity's dead, and he's the last man on Earth. And the Earth is just filled with these psychic creatures, psychic humans, who are not really humans at all. Their brains have kind of merged with the overmind, and they've got incredible telekinetic power. and the overlords are staying there to watch, but then they start messing around with the orbit of the moon, and the overlords start thinking, well, you know, this is a little bit dangerous, we better get out of here. And then the last man says, well, I'll stay and observe and tell you what happens. And that's the end of the book. And the tragedy of the book is, well, I mean, is it a tragedy? I guess it's kind of a tragedy. It's kind of a taking birth. It's kind of a tragedy. But the interesting part of the book is that the overlords begin as this all-powerful alien race with this fantastic technology, but in the end, humanity kind of trumps them. We triumph, which I suppose is always a theme in contact books, where you know, the humans meet the aliens. The aliens are so much more advanced than us humans. You know, we just got the knack. We've just got some kind of ability to adapt and overcome, and we somehow figure out a way to survive. So I guess there's a little bit of that in this. But mostly it's just an incredibly Kabbalistic. It's essentially a religious book. And that's my opinion of science fiction in general. Science fiction is religious. It is people deny that it is a religion, but it is a religion. I, of course, am an irredeemable flat earther, and I do not believe in evolution. So it's kind of funny when I read science fiction books like this. I guess I read it from a different perspective to everybody else. But I think in a few hundred years' time, people are going to look back at this phase of human history, and they're going to be like, wow, people just believed in this crazy, they had all these crazy ideas. They thought that the future would happen, and this would happen, and that would happen, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, why am I crazy flat earther? Because I essentially take the cosmological argument for the existence of God to its ultimate conclusion. My opinion is that there has to be a cause. Everything in the universe is caused by something, so there must be a cause for the universe. And in the same way that the quality of a thing is contained in the thing that caused it. So a tree will come from a seed, and fire will come from wood. That means in a certain way the tree is inside the sea, and the fire is inside the wood. So in a similar way, because the entire universe came from God, God must have the qualities of the universe within him, which means he must have form, he must have shape, he must have imagination, he must have laughter, he must be alive. He must be a living, personal being. God is not just an equation. He is not just an atomic reaction. He is a person. He must be a person. And then the question comes, well, who is he then? What does he look like? And the only religion in the world that actually describes what he looks like is the Vedic religion, the ancient Indian religion, which describes him as looking like Vishnu or Narayan or Krishna. Same person, different names. And so once you understand that, then you start to look at the Veda. And once you start to look at the Veda, you'll see that the Veda is quite clear. There's only one sun, there's only one moon. And the Veda also explains that we live in Kali Yuga, which started 5,000 years ago. Kali Yuga is an age of darkness. It's an age where the demons take over the earth. It's an age of confusion and of lies, and of extinction, and of chaos, and of collapse. And then everything makes sense. Okay, that's what's going on then. Okay? It's the Yay. I can't say his name properly without stuttering, because it's just a weird name. Yeah. Anyway, Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu has a son called Yay, or Yeah, whatever. He's, funnily enough, he posted on Twitter or something like this, a meme from the Daily Stormer or something like this. I'll have to look up the story. But anyway, the meme is an image of an alien. You know that famous internet meme where, like, you have the Jew and it's dangling the carrot in front of the American, and the American's like a fat pedo bear on a mobility scooter, right? So it was like that meme. But the first you had an alien dangling the carrot in front of an occultist person, and then the occultist person is dangling the carrot in front of the Jew, and then the Jew is dangling the carrot in front of America. And that, I think, is an accurate description of what is happening in this world. That is the hierarchy. It's aliens first, aliens and demons first, and then it's the Illuminati and the Bohemian Grove and all these weird secret societies below them in the hierarchy. And then below them in the hierarchy, it's the Jews. And then below them, it's America and the woke and globalism and all of that, corporations and banks and etc. etc. That's the hierarchy, my friends. That is the world in which we live. You can only really see it if you have the spiritual vision to see it, my dear friends. But that's the logical argument for you. It's a straightforward logical argument. If you believe in God, then you have to believe he's a person. I mean, God must be a person. Otherwise, you're placing a limitation on God. And if he is a person, what does he look like? Well, the only religion that tells us what he looks like is the Vedic religion. So, and it's the world's oldest religion. And wouldn't God tell us what he looks like? Why would he hide himself? Wouldn't he want... I mean, if there is a God, then obviously he's the source of happiness, and we should know him, and we should serve him, and so on and so forth. And if God is good, which he must be, then wouldn't he want us to know about him? Well, he would. So he'd tell us, wouldn't he? And what nation in the world is telling us what God looks like? Well, it's only the Vedic one. It's only the Indian one. And so that's it. It's simple logic. Now, you may complain about this and say, oh, but the Indians are shitting on the street. And I understand this. This is a big problem. And I used to live there, and I know what they're like. They're all thieves, and they're lazy. Okay. And they're quite soft as well. They're not nasty like Muslims. But I mean, in the defense of the Indians, all I can say is they got conquered by Islam, and that's it. That's what happens to your country if you get conquered by Islam. They were ruled by the Muslims for roughly 800 years, and so they got browned out. And they're the only religion in the world that's managed to survive being ruled by Islam. Because every other nation in the world that gets conquered by Islam will convert to Islam. And will become a 90% at least Islamic nation. You know, some Christians have survived in the Middle East for a long, long time. But they're tough, I guess. Most Christians just get eliminated and they convert. Right? They used to have Buddhists in Afghanistan. They all got converted to Islam. So yeah, I mean, Hinduism survived though. They didn't convert to Islam. They got the shit kicked out of them. They got browned out, but they didn't convert. So there's something to that. But that's my excuse. That's why India is a shithole. It's because it's a Muslim country that's not Muslim, but kind of is. If you know what I mean. The attitude of the people is all wrong. Because if for 800 years you're living under the rule of a tyrant, then you just don't, like, you're going to develop a deeply ingrained kind of weird habit of just, like, hating the government and not having any vision and being lazy and not wanting to do things properly and so on and so forth, right? So that's my excuse. But I mean, I don't know, guys. I'm just giving you the logical argument. But anyway, it's not my intention to spend this video talking about all of this. All I'm trying to say to you is that I am a flat earther, right? Because if you follow the logic through, then okay, you have to follow the Veda. Okay, you have to follow the Veda, then the world is flat. And we live in Kali Yuga, and everything's being lied about. Aliens are real. And this whole idea of the world being a globe spinning through an infinite empty void is just nonsense. It's been made up. It's a nonsense that's been made up by occultists, because it is a Platonic idea, as far as I understand it. It comes all the way back to Plato, that great fraud. And it's an idea which has been pushed forward in order to destroy belief in heaven and hell. It's an idea that's been pushed forward in order to hide the demons. So people can't see the demons. People don't believe in demons. If you don't believe in demons, then you've got a big problem on your hand. Because then the demons can take advantage of you. I mean, it's well known. Like, people say, "Oh, I've got voices in my head," and people think, "Oh, this person's crazy." No, this person's not crazy. The person's got voices in their head because they got a demon in them, and the demon's talking to them, telling them to do stuff. And the only person that's going to help you is not psychiatry; it's a priest or something that can expel that bad force, that bad spirit. So, but if you don't understand this because you don't believe in demons, then, you're screwed. And you're not going to believe in demons if you don't believe in heaven and hell. And you're not going to believe in heaven and hell if you think the world is a ball spinning through an infinite void. You see? So by creating this false cosmology, they've killed God. They've killed God. Because every religion in the world talks about heaven and hell. But modern science tells us that it's not real. And so now heaven and hell, they just become like these ideas. Oh, it's just like a place you go to. Whereas in the past, people would know. No, heaven is literally above us in the sky. It's a place up there. We're not exactly sure how it works, but it is up there. And hell is below, under the ground. We don't know exactly how it works, but it's under the ground. That's what people would believe, and they were right to believe that. Now you've swept that away. All the religions have died. Nobody believes in God anymore. Well, people do, but their faith is weakened a lot. And so then you have materialism, and then humanity is just driven down into the mud, right? That's what's happening to us, and it's all planned, and that's what they want to do. They want to drive people into the mud. If you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in the eternality of the soul, then it is easier to control you and to push you around because you're scared of dying. If you do believe in God, if you believe that your soul is eternal, then you're not going to be as scared of death. Not really. Because, okay, you die, so what? You get another life. You'll live again. You get a second chance. What's the big deal? And if you're not really scared of dying, then you can stand up for things, can't you? Because you know God is watching. So, maybe nobody else cares, but somebody cares. Somebody big and powerful is watching you. And he cares about you doing the right thing. And he'll remember it, even if nobody else does. So, this is why you have to have religion, and this is why this modern cosmology is so bad. But why am I saying all this? I'm trying to say all this because I'm trying to drive forward the point that this book, like many of the science fiction books, I mean, it reminds me a little bit of Neuromancer, which in a kind of a different way. Neuromancer was more of a transhumanist merging with the god of cyberspace than anything. But this book really is just about the apotheosis. So it's about becoming God, merging with God. It's a religious book, and science fiction is the new religion. People don't call it a religion, and science it's like an anti-religion that has many of the characteristics of being a religion, I suppose. It's a religion that denies God, but nonetheless, the people that follow this religion, they want to rise up out of planet Earth, and they want to go and live in the stars. They want to go and live in the heavens. Funny thing about the heavens is it's both kind of like above us, but it's also the eternal night. So it's like you're going into the darkness as well as going into the sky, which is kind of strange, but because usually the darkness is associated with the realm below us, right? The underworld. But nonetheless, they want to go into the sky. They want to go into the darkness. They want to go into the infinite array of stars. And that's the dream. It's the dream of outer space. It's the dream of the vast interplanetary civilization. Or in this case, the dream... I mean, the book starts with humanity wanted to go to the stars. You've got the Soviet Union and America. They're both trying to launch their spaceships to get to the moon or whatever it is, right at the beginning of the book, and then the aliens turn up like that. It's just to say, no, you won't go to the stars. And they even make the point, like halfway through the book, that humanity is not allowed to travel into space because they're not qualified. Space is too big and it's too dangerous, and humans are dangerous and whatever. So they cut their dream of star travel short. They cut that dream short, but then humanity instead develops these psychic abilities and merges into the overmind. So they kind of reach the stars, but in a different way. But nonetheless, I mean, that's the dream. That's the science fiction dream. Eternal life, right, through transhumanism. Instead of eternal life through worshipping God and then going to heaven and being the servant, no, you have the eternal life through merging with machines, uploading your consciousness into a computer, okay, and genetic engineering and all the rest of it. That's how you get eternal life. And then eternal life through living in a post-scarcity infinite universe. A universe full of resources. It's just floating in the sky. All you got to do is get off planet Earth, and then we can go there and we can figure out how to build cities in space, and we can just live forever in the stars, and we can travel here, we can travel there, and we can have lots of sex. Lots of sex in space. Sex in space. Right? That's the vision. That's the dream. Isn't it, guys? I know you got this fantasy. I've got this fantasy. That's my teenage fantasy. Sex in space. I was always waiting for a spaceship to come down and just fly off. Take me away. You know? Oh, I always wanted a spaceship. And then I was just going to get my spaceship and then pick up some girl who would obviously just be like some girl that I went to school with or whatever. She'd obviously be mega impressed by my spaceship, wouldn't she? And she'd be like, yeah, let's go. And then we get in the spaceship and whoosh, off you go. Into space. Live forever in the cosmos, the endless infinite. Okay, but it's just a dream. It's not real. It's a nice fantasy, but it's not real. It is a religion. And you may say, oh, but it's scientific. It's not scientific at all. Science is... Science is engineering. Okay? Science is good at building computers. It's good at building TVs. It's good at building cars. It's good at building things. It's good at engineering. It's good at making chemicals, making medicines. All of these things. Okay? This is what science is good at. Engineering. It's very good at that. It's not good at analyzing human behavior, right? The social sciences, it kind of like falls to pieces with that. Actually, this is the subject matter of another of Isaac Asimov's books, the Foundation series, which I read when I was a teenager, or at least I read 2 of them. There's about 9 of them now, because he did a whole bunch of prequels and sequels. Maybe one day I will sit down and read all 9 books and then talk about it. But as far as I remember, the Foundation series is about social sciences. Okay, so it's about, there is a galactic empire, and they know the empire is going to collapse, and so somebody decides to create a foundation planet, which will ensure that the galaxy, the Galactic Empire is rebuilt. Like, why they couldn't just save the Galactic Empire, I don't know. I guess they just saw that it was going to collapse, I suppose. I mean, I guess, look at our current situation. We all know this is going to collapse, right? We're getting conquered by Islam, guys. And it's kind of hard. I mean, I don't know. I'm becoming a little bit of a doomer. The older I get, the more of a doomer I become. It's just, things are looking really bad. Things are looking really, really bad. Oh my god. But anyway, so they see the Galactic Empire is going to collapse, and this guy's like, "Oh, okay, I will build a planet. Not build a planet. We'll start a foundation on a planet, and this in the future, this thing will spread from this planet and reconquer and rebuild the Galactic Empire, because the Galactic Empire is better than chaos and anarchy." Okay, fine, but the entire thing is built on social sciences. Like, they predict, this guy is Hurry Seller or something. I forget the guy. The character is like some kind of great mathematician, and he's expert at sociology, and so he knows exactly how this whole thing's going to play out. And of course, that's really silly, because you can't really predict how an empire is going to be built. And as far as I remember, after reading the books when I was a teenager, there is a character who appears who is called the Mutant, and the Mutant essentially has these psychic powers. Once again, Asimov and his psychic powers, right? But he has these kind of psychic powers, and he kind of like breaks the foundation. You know, he ruins everything because he's a blip that they couldn't account for. It's very interesting, because Asimov is known as a hard scientist, or a sort of hard scientist. And yet he does seem to dabble in the occult quite a bit. Of course, Asimov, of course, did 2001: Space Odyssey. It's kind of weird how they did that, because him and Kubrick, they wanted to make the movie. They had the basic idea for the movie. They were going to make the script, but then while they were writing the script, they also said, "Oh, let's write a book." So Asimov wrote the book and the script kind of at the same time, like editing both, going back and forth. And then the movie came out, and the book came out afterwards. So it's kind of a weird one. But nonetheless, that was, well, I don't know what to say about that. A lot of weirdness in that story. But essentially, guys, yeah, that's it. That's it. You can merge with the Overmind. You can merge with the Overmind. The aliens will come, and they will give us a utopia. They will raise us up, and then psychic powers will be realized, and then, you know, that's it. I mean, it's a theme that you see in Warhammer 40,000, I suppose. It's where they got maybe that's where they got the idea from. Who knows? But there is a theme in Warhammer 40,000 in which humanity has this emerging psychic, like, you know, people just developing psychic powers left, right, and center, just like popping off, and they are messing up with the warp energy, and so then the Emperor has to take over, and obviously he has a big fight, and then he ends up being turned into this giant vampire robot machine, and I think he eats like 100 psychics a day, drinks their blood, whatever, to keep going for thousands and thousands of years. But that idea is in that science fiction realm, you know, the idea of the emerging psychic development of humanity. It's going to happen. As science expands, so the minds of humanity will expand. It's a nice dream. It's a progressive dream. It's Whig history. It's all progress is good, right? Well, I think I lost the point I was trying to make. Science is good at engineering, but science is not good at... oh yeah, that's the point I was making. Science is good at engineering, but it's not good at anything else. It can't explain sociology. Okay? It can't explain people. It falls to pieces. It can't explain the weather. It can't explain space. All of this stuff is just a bunch of mathematical equations. That's all it is. It's preposterous. It's insane. It's absurd that people take these things seriously. It's amazing that I get into arguments with people over this. It's really frustrating, actually. So-called intelligent people on the internet are just baffled by ideas of black holes and such things. Or like, oh my God, you're telling me there's a research institute and they were looking for black holes and they found the black hole? Wow. Oh, really? That's amazing. Oh, could never have seen that coming. Wow. Let's give them some more money so they can keep going with their research. Yeah? Better keep funding that one. They had a huge breakthrough. You're telling me they made a computer algorithm to find black holes and it found the black hole? Wow. That is just, phenomenal. Like, how do people believe this shit? I really don't know. It doesn't even make any sense. It's not science, okay? People scream and shout, "Yeah, it's you don't believe in science." I do believe in science. I believe in engineering. I don't believe in mathematical wank. None of this stuff is proven by experimentation. Can you show me the experiment that proves a black hole, or a quasar, or a giant gas cloud, or the formation of a sun within a gas cloud? I was reading about this stuff recently. I actually intend one day to sit down and write a massive science fiction novel just for the fun of it. Just exploring the whole galaxy and the universe and all the different giant stellar objects there are out there and the ins and outs and whatever. I just think it's a fascinating idea. I had a dream actually a long time ago which just stuck with me. And basically in this dream I managed to leave planet Earth and I was on another planet and it was filled with humans, and they just looked like us, they sounded like us, they were wearing similar clothes, and they just basically said that the universe is just like this and humans are everywhere, and the universe has always been here and the universe always will be here, and nothing much really ever changes, and there are certain limitations to the technology, but you can't go beyond those limitations. You can't just, there are some things you can do and there's some things you just can't do, and that's it, right? And so, empires come and go, but things pretty much remain the same forever. Humanity, essentially, humanity is all across the universe, everywhere, and operating at a similar level of technology. And so an empire can only get so big because of the limitations of that technology. And that's it. And everyone's just kind of like hanging in space, and they're calm and they're collected, and there's no great anxiety of, I don't know, the end of days or whatever, right? The apocalypse. There's no anxiety of that nature, because everyone just knows, well, this is it. This is what it is. And our world was separated from that. As we were imprisoned on this world and separated from the rest of the universe as a punishment for some crime that we committed. And that's why everyone on planet Earth is mad as a hatter, because we're separated from the real reality. So I had this dream, dude. It's just like powerful dreams, just always stuck in my head. I'd love to write a book about it, Some guy manages to get off planet Earth and then just explore the cosmos, go everywhere, and I don't know, something like that. But it's all just a fantasy. It's not. Science is supposed to be based on experimentation. Okay? You do the experiments and then you prove the theory. All of this nonsense about wormholes, black holes, white dwarfs, red dwarfs, supernova, blah blah blah. It's not proved by experimentation. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. It's not real. So, I mean, that just is what it is. It's all just a big lie. And it's just to deceive us and to take us away from the reality. And to basically fuel this dream that we're just marching into the future somehow. We're progressing. Things are getting better and better and better, and we're going forward. We're not going forwards, we're going downwards. The more technology we have, the weaker we get. And the more stupid we get. People can't even remember. I can't remember anything anymore because I don't need to, because I can just look it up on my phone. You know, people used to remember phone numbers. Do you remember back in the day when you used to remember someone's phone number? Right? I used to know 10, 20 phone numbers off the top of my head, probably. Something like that. Not anymore. Because you don't need to remember anything, because it's all on. You can just click a few buttons on the internet. So people's memories are going down. Physically, we're not as strong as we used to be. Our creativity is going to disappear pretty soon, because AI is coming along, and AI is going to make movies for us. It's going to make music for us. It's going to make movies for us. It's really. I mean, this is such a blow. It's not quite here yet. But we're on the edges of it. We're on the edges of it. I mean, I'm waiting any day. I did see one AI-generated movie about a balloon or something like this. It was a short. There's probably a lot. I mean, if I looked into it, I'll probably find all kinds of stuff. But how long until an algorithm, an AI, wins an Oscar for Best Movie of the Year, right? How long? I mean, I don't know. But they're going to take our creativity from us. For sure. I mean, these things are just going to get better at doing what they're doing. And what's the point in making music when you can't really compete with a computer that's making better music than you? Right? So, technology makes us weaker. And by making us weaker, it takes away our virtue, because virtue comes from strength. So it makes us more addicted to vice, and so it makes us more dirty, more sinful, more easy to control. It drives us down into hell. That's what technology does. Now, you can't just destroy all the technology, because if you did that, we just get conquered by another civilization that's got better technology than us, right? You can't really just go and hide in the forest, because in order to live off nature, you can't just do it by yourself. People in the old days did it in groups of thousands, right? They did it in a nation. You need one person to lots of different people doing lots of different jobs. You can't just live in a cabin on the woods by yourself. I mean, you can, but that's a massive struggle. So all you can try and do is just like limit the ongoing technological devastation. I'm in favor of open source technology, because then at least we can understand what it's doing. Right? We can understand what it's doing, and we can stop it from enslaving us completely. But I've been banging on about this on the internet for almost a decade now, and nobody's listening. Nobody gets it. Nobody understands Linux. Right? They are building a digital prison. They are listening to us. They are watching us. They are absorbing all of our data. They're creating metadata profiles of us. They're selling us stuff. They're trying to manipulate us in different ways, just by nudging us this way and nudging us that way. And how do we stop them from doing this? Well, open source is one thing which will help, because at least you can turn your camera off and stop them from spying on you, right? But people on the dissident right have not embraced this. I don't know why. I don't know. They're just, people aren't as smart as they think that they are. But really, in this age where you've got millions of people like refusing to take the vax and they hate Bill Gates, they should all be using open source phones by now. Shouldn't be using Windows. Shouldn't have a Windows laptop. Why are you giving money to Bill Gates when he's trying to poison you? Right? So technology is used as like the proof of science. Oh, look, science must work because it's giving us all this technology. Okay, that's fine. But first of all, the technology is not good. And second of all, just because you've created some technology doesn't mean that your stupid idea about a black hole or a supernova or whatever is correct. Because you haven't proven any of that stuff. All a piece of technology is a series of connected experiments that works every time. That's all a car is, or a television. So science is good at making technology, but it doesn't prove their cosmological ideas. And the technology in itself is not even good. But nonetheless, they've created this religion of science that we can forget God, and through the creation of technology, we can raise humanity up until we become God, essentially, which is what happens in this book. Merge into the overmind. Okay, and all science fiction novels, it's the underlying theme in all of them. Eternal life in the stars, the utopia. But this progress is not good. Things, you know what I'm reading right now? Heimskringla. I can't even pronounce it, but it's Snorri Sturluson's book of the kings of Norway, essentially. And I've got to admit, actually, it's a pretty brutal, violent book. I mean, these guys were just like hacking each other to pieces, left, right, and center. They did not mess around. But they were strong. They were strong. They were brutally strong, physically just magnificent specimens. I mean, go and look at the gelling stones. I think that's in Denmark, isn't it? People lifted those stones. They picked those stones up and put them there. I mean, these no man alive today could pick up those stones. Why have we lost our strength? Why have we lost it? Because we became fat and we became lazy. Even if you're going to the gym, right? Even if you're going to the gym all day and rah, you can't match the strength of the Vikings. You're never going to match their power. I mean, they had, in Greek time, they had people that used to row in the boats. They used to row for 12 hours a day. 12 hours a day rowing. What great physical power they had. The people have looked at bones of long dead humans, and then the fibers, or whatever you call it, whatever bone's made of, like the bone matter is so much stronger than any bone that any human has today. Why are we so weak? Because of technology. But it's, how do you fight against this? How do you fight? Just carried on by the tide. But the science fiction, the dream, and that's all it is a fiction. The dream is what is telling us that this is all going to lead to something. It's going to lead to us escaping into the stars, but it's not going to. It's just leading to us being dominated and controlled by Rakshasas in Kali Yuga and plunged into slavery. That's all it's doing. You know, it's pretty bleak conclusion to this video. But there you go, that's science fiction. It's a very interesting delusion. It really is, because in the ancient days, right, in the age of the Vikings, in the age of the Greeks, they didn't look to the future. They never wrote science fiction. They didn't waste their time writing fantasies about, oh, in the future, think we're gonna have this and we're gonna have that and we're gonna. No, they were much more physically grounded in reality. But these days, of course, we're all just totally delusional. But there you go, guys. Thank you very much for listening. God bless. I hope you have a nice day.